As educational leaders with a global perspective, we recognize that learning and leading are intrinsically linked to the emotional and social dynamics present within every organization. Our research has shifted the focus from asking why to exploring how, prioritizing practical strategies that empower individuals to engage meaningfully with their workplace and community. By sharing our stories and proven practices, we emphasize the importance of social emotional leadership as the cornerstone for cultivating a sense of belonging among members of your workforce. Through intentional development of emotional intelligence and relationship building skills, individuals are equipped not only to thrive professionally, but also to enrich their personal lives. This approach encourages the formation of habits centered on active participation and ownership, transforming organizational culture and community engagement. By fostering emotional leadership, we pave the way for lasting change, where every member feels valued, connected, and capable of contributing to shared success.
Go ahead.
All right, here we are, Habit Over Why, Episode 7. Today we are going to be talking about AI, the good, the bad, the ugly. I am one of your hosts, Jeevan D, and my co-host is...
Claudia Borlucci.
That's right, soccer legend, Vancouver Burnby.
Stop it.
So you were saying you started a new book.
I started a new book, and I just was trying to find it and share it with you. And
Right.
It's called The Art of Belonging.
Nice.
The 7
Okay.
principles.
You know I like my principles.
Huh?
You know I like my principles, right?
Right.
Both kinds.
Yeah, by Charles Vogel.
Okay.
And
How far are you in?
I'm about halfway.
Okay.
But what I really like about him is he uses simple principles that are used with other communities, like Alcoholics Anonymous, various other groups that have these attributes to them. And he references a guy named Peter Block, who I'm
Peter Block, yeah.
big advocate of. So it's cool to see the connections and how they actually weave their way back in together, sort of like what we've been talking about, right?
Okay.
World revolves in simple principles, and
Yep.
you try to build it back together. And when you do, it actually is amazing, and you can get a lot out of the work that you're doing if you just spend time listening and connecting the dots.
Yeah, I know we've talked about belonging, so I'm gonna have to borrow that book afterwards, or else I'll get it, and
Yeah.
maybe we can do some segments on just like reading similar books and then kind of giving our summary of what we've learned, right? So
that's like that. I shared with you that book, Super Communicators, and I know that you've been quite passionate about using the strategies in it and just the language.
Well, like just as we're talking, I had a meeting this week with one of my staff members, and actually 2 of them, and they were having some conflict. And when I was doing the loop around conversation afterwards, I was just talking about super communicators and the fact that the other person was having a practical conversation and the person in front of me that I was talking to was having an emotional conversation. I had to define them. And I found even defining those situations, the person, and defining, like there's 3 types of conversations, is they were still having a difficult time connecting. But this brings me all the way back to this book that you're reading, Belonging, is because traditionally there's been, I don't think I would call it a rift, but kind of like a block or a challenge with people saying, being on the same page. So what we would call, one person doesn't feel like they belong, or they're being pushed out of belonging to the larger group. So what does this guy say about that?
Um, he says that there's ways to have these communications or conversations. He also talks about the 7 principles, and I've only gotten through the first 2 or 3 right now. And the first 2 are the first one is about creating the environment. So, what are the structures within your community to
Hmm.
foster the belonging? Do you have similar values? Do you use similar language? That's at the heart of all of this stuff. And then the second one that he talks about is building trust with people. How do you
Yeah.
build trust with people? Uh,
Yeah.
and foster a community where you have something in common. Uh,
Hmm.
And he talks about personal and professional.
Yeah. We talked about that earlier today.
Talks about how do you align the personal and the professional so that you're the same authentic person in everything that you do, not in some of the things that you do.
So yeah, and that's a good topic to bring up, is like being authentic, because I'm finding one of my challenges right now, live challenge that I'm going through right now, is I truly believe, like, when I'm trying to help and coach some individuals, is they talk about values and how we need to align our values. But then what happens is, what they mean is, I need to align you with my values.
Right.
And so, like, how would you, or how have you kind of worked around that in your career before you retired?
Well, so I talk about the semantics of language a lot,
Yep.
and I would say that perception and perspective are 2 things that you would talk about, and I would
Mm.
say the perceptive reality versus the authentic reality, right? And so
Yeah.
I think what people want is what they want, and that's not really what you want.
Hmm.
And you know, coming back to Charles Duhigg and super communicators, he would say that, if you ask probing questions, you can get to a common understanding. And
Hmm.
I think that's a place to go.
Yeah.
Is that, you over the last little while you've used the word curiosity,
Oh yeah.
and we use the phrase help me understand, right?
Yeah.
So I think even in that you can say, I hear what you're saying, but that's not what I need or what I want or what I
Hmm.
envision.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people, they're not listening. They're not really actively listening. They're trying to convert you and not have you be a collaborator in the conversation.
For sure. For sure.
They want to control the conversation
Yeah.
and or the narrative. And the reality is that you can listen and you don't necessarily have to agree with them. And
Mhm.
sometimes you might, but if you don't, then you have to authentically say, well, I disagree with you, or I think you're going in the wrong direction.
Yeah. So, like, and part of belonging, I guess, like, I don't know if the book's gone through it, is the fact that people can have differences, and it's how you create that structure, the processes on how to kind of deal with those different. It's okay to disagree, but you're trying to understand the other person's perception of the situation. And then once you under
Mhm.
the perception, then you can go through the vast, like, ideas that, hey, look, I'm thinking this way, that person's thinking this way. Here's the reasons why. Now we have to align them and come together in some sort of
Mhm.
agreement.
Yeah, and I think that book Super Communicators does a great job of saying just asking questions is one thing, but asking questions about values and other things is really important. And I think one of the things that sticks out to me is he asked a question like, oh, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
And the response was, I'm a lawyer. And
Hmm.
the next question is, what's the best thing about being a lawyer?
Hmm.
So now you're inviting that person to share something about themselves.
Yeah.
And once you have that open dialogue or communication, then it's easier to get to a place of authentic communication where you say, look, I hear what you're saying, but that's not going to fly for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, like, I'm having weekly meetings. I have weekly meetings with some staff. And one of my meetings in last week, like, it's asking those probing questions and just coming with curiosity. And sometimes I'm very open with, and I'm experimenting with this is, hey, you know what, this conversation, I'm just going to lead with curiosity here. I'm just wondering. So, I'm not really looking into anything like that, but I'm just for myself trying to understand you on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these is asking you these questions. And then within those questions, you can, once you have the language, like the semantics of language, like I'm like, oh, okay, so you say that this is what you value. Give me a situation. And then they gave me a situation. And then I was able to prompt and probe further into, I'm like, okay, well, that's a really good situation. I understand this is how you dealt with it. And you had moved on from the situation. How do you know the other person dealt with it? Because one of the challenges this person was having was they would in their world, um, the problem was solved and everyone was fine. But they were not realizing that the situation might have been solved, but the emotional baggage that was being carried by the other person that hadn't been dealt with, that they deal with in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to kind of get to that, like, how do you think, how do you know that it was solved for you? And this is what you're saying, and using that looping for understanding from Charles Duhigg, and then saying, how do you know that it was solved emotionally for the other person? And then their barometer was like, oh, well, they started talking to me again. And then that's when I said, have you ever asked somebody, like, okay, emotionally, like, I know we're on different pages, like, how you actually feeling? And they're like, no. And that was the disconnect. So I'm hoping now that they'll practice that. So
Well,
again, it's just belonging.
tough skill for people to learn, especially when they have to unlearn all of the bad things that they've been doing along the way. It's not just to sort of drop everything and, you know, I get it. It takes some practice, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
And some of it was you got to take a leap of faith. In the same conversation, I had to take a leap of faith, and I again I was very explicit about the fact I'm taking a leap of faith here because I've been told to do it a different way.
mhm.
And then the leap of faith was like, has anyone ever told you? And then I went into what I was going to talk about, and they're like, no, no one has ever told me that. And then I reaffirmed their feel. I'm like, how are you feeling about this? Because it can't be a good feeling. And they're like, I don't know yet. And then from there, they kind of thought about it. We talked about a few other things, and then they actually looped back and said, I've thought about it, and I I was unaware of this part, but here's how you can help me, and
So
gave me strategy.
let's switch gears here, and this week's episode is about AI. So
Yes.
tell me how you have actually used AI in a positive way to transfer it into a communication tool or a leadership strategy.
Okay, so for us, AI is locked down at school. So like in my organization, so we have to use the AI. Like it's still Copilot, but you have to use the one that's there for the district, and that's for auditing purposes, confidentiality, making sure you're not using people's names. But one way I'm leveraging AI as an administrator is when I get emails from certain people, there's actually now a Copilot button there for assistance. Like it's kind of like a help you kind of thing. So lately, what I've been doing is I've been using that. So I'll dump the conversation in, then I'll give it the context, the background context, and say, help me support this person with this. And I was talking to you about this earlier, is it was shocking to me, and maybe it's because AI is learning who I am as a person in the background all the time when I'm putting in all these prompts, is it stated that it looks like there's two things that are happening here. It's personal and professional. And that's what we talk about all the time is for this person, they have professional obligations, and you have to remind them that they have these professional obligations, and these are personal challenges that are kind of getting in the way. So, and these are personal opinions. So you can't just say you're not going to do this because of ABC. That's a personal thing because professionally we're bound by these guidelines. And then you can dig deeper with AI if you want to, like, find strategies or ways to word things or just kind of have a conversation, right? It's pretty amazing. It,
I know I've used it to ask it some questions, like a Google search used to give you a lot of information, but now
yeah,
AI search sort of gives you that information, but does a deep dive, and you can even ask it for a deep dive,
yeah,
and it'll give you some concise information on synthesizing an article
yeah.
or other kinds of things. So I think there's lots of power in AI, and I know that we started using it to help teachers understand how they could save time in
Yeah.
building lessons and rubrics and all of those kinds of things in our
Oh my
last year.
goodness.
So,
Yeah. And, but, like, Claudia, tell me this, like, just like back in our day, the prehistoric days of going to school and university, we used to do works cited pages and references.
yeah, yeah,
It's hard because if now one of the things that scares me is AI gets to know you so well that it's regurgitating some
yeah,
information that you're going to agree with it, right? It's kind of
mm,
like the whole social media
yeah,
conundrum
right.
right now is fact checking and biases getting in the way, or just the algorithm just feeding you the information to confirm what you're thinking without challenging it. So one thing I do is when I'm doing my deep dives is, hey, can you tell me what biases I may have from the conversation that we're having? And then how do I check those biases? And it's actually really good to, like, some of the feedback it'll give you. It will give you articles, it will give you books, it will challenge you, like, hey, here's the other side of it. So I think one responsibility as educators that we have is just don't just dump the information in there and be like, okay, that's no different than the person having different values and putting their values on you. Is you got to also have primed and ready your inputs or your prompts for checking your own biases, and could this be a you problem and not a them problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember when we were together, uh, we were talking with your wife, and we were talking about AI and what
Yeah.
it does. And I said I had some really cool information, and I shared it with you on some of these studies about how AI is being used to replicate creativity in a lot of high schools. So
Yep.
kids are using it, and they're not actually having to be creative in any way, shape,
Hmm.
or form. And it says that like 74% of kids use it not only to um, write things, but also to create things for themselves. So they're not really applying that kind of creative and critical thinking in their own mind. So,
Yep.
that might be the ugly part of AI and how it will take away some human attributes or allow people to be crutch worthy with it and not really expend their own mind and their own thinking.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole analogy I have is, I talk to people about AI being kind of like Lego. Like when Lego first came out when we were young, and you didn't have all these drawings and how to put things together. You had to be pretty creative, like, to in order to, like, oh, what is this? It's a dog. Oh, what is this? This is a house. This is, you know, whatever it may be that you're building. And now you actually have Lego sets that come with instructions on how to put the pieces together. I mean, the final product is like, wow, it's amazing. But then again, like my son Amir's, he's an avid Lego guy. He's been since, this, since he was a little kid. and he can build some major stuff. Like, so it's really cool to see him as he grows, following those step by step without your assistance, so without any prompting, like you can get it done. So he's building those skills, and when he makes a mistake, he can kind of go back. But then when we sit him down and say, "Hey, don't look at a picture or something, make us something," and then it kind of goes back to the basics
Yeah.
stuff that you're making. So same thing with AI. Like, yeah, that's a conversation when you sent Sim all that stuff. You were like, and just read the article about creativity. Like, that's something that we talked about is like, you teach the framework to these kids, because they're going to need to know the background knowledge, and then let them explore with AI. I don't think we should let them take away that exploring on their own phase. Um, so I think that might be the next biggest thing as creativity starts to take a dive.
Hmm.
Is what are some of the strategies and mechanisms on how you can still drive creativity, individual creativity, without AI?
Right.
Yeah.
Because as a tool, I mean, and it's, if it's taught to be used thoughtfully,
Yeah.
it can be quite a powerful
Oh, 100%.
source of information or implementation, whatever you want it to do. I think for me, the scary thing is that, you know, we were talking about this as well, how, it's taken um, the emotional context and brought it
Yeah.
into it, where,
Yeah.
women are falling in love with their AI bots and
Yeah.
men are. And, it's because of what it does, it sort of replicates what you want. It gives you that emotional connection as well, without allowing you to be a critical consumer of what it is that you're actually doing.
Oh, for sure. And that's like, again, I get this episode could be about how we're getting to be dinosaurs here, but it's kind of like, when my friends, because when I met my wife, I met her organically. Like, we met at a
Mhm.
place that we worked, and then we went on our first date and got to know each other, did a lot of sports and things like that. But as my friends were aging up, and then these dating sites came on, um, that was the biggest thing. And now I was shocked at the article that you sent me about AI and the bots and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
I know it's scary. I mean, I like you, I like to, read and find people and information about certain things, and the whole AI platform and what it's doing right now is fascinating. That there's this sort of race to conquer AI for a monetary value and control of the space, and I think it's sort of being lost for its authentic purpose and how it could be used, to help people. And so, you wonder um, how do you keep the authenticity, but challenge the use of it, the application of it, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I'm finding myself I'm still in the exploratory phase of using AI. So, like, if we get back to talking about how to use AI in your organizations, and like I said, my organization is a school. So, I gave you one of those examples, but there's, like you were saying, there's so many different types of AI. So, like, I mean, for people like us, I think we need to know, like, there's different, like, you and Sim talked about Claude AI. And so, like, how is that different? Because I haven't explored with Claude as much as you. Like, how is that different than from, say, a Copilot?
Uh, um, I think from what I understand is that it has an algorithm built into it
Okay.
that has more of a reference check
Mm-hmm.
and than a simple uh, typical AI does a scan, takes the volume of information, synthesizes it down, regurgitates a simpler version. Claude has an algorithm built into it that's sort of like a librarian, a
Yeah.
reference check person that actually will verify the facts, not just take the amalgamated amount of information. And
It's
that's why
interesting.
there's versions of Claude. You can get the free one, but you can
Yeah.
also pay the other one and you get a little bit more, juice and hype and productivity.
Yeah, I know that through my wife, like she created like some sort of checklist or things that when she logs in, um, like you can actually interact with it with Claude, where I'm not sure if you can do that with
Yeah.
Copilot. Copilot is just more of like you enter in the information. I mean, the cool thing about Copilot and stuff is like the animation that it creates of you and I and everybody else and things like that. Like they're putting more into it. Um, infographics, things like that. Like it is getting quite amazing stuff that would take me, half an hour, 2 hours to do. I can just put in the information and my prompting is getting better and then I'm able to get like an infograph. Like I just did one for what to do for parents if your child is sick, as opposed to if you're going on vacation and taking a little bit more leave. And I entered the information about the school and I entered everything it would need, and it created me this simple infograph. And it was two columns. One's like, if your child's sick for the day, here's what you do. Here's the phone number. Here's the email address. What you do is leave their name, and it like combed from my prompts like what I would need. And again, it was our enterprise one that was within the school system. And then yeah, we were able to get that up. I know my principal did one on parking because parking and traffic was an issue. But with Claude, I found it really interesting. Like I haven't explored with it, but when she was able to create checklists for herself or mantras that she can read every morning, like it's more, and you can kind of interact with it. Another one I played with very minimal is Base 44. So Base 44 gives you a certain amount of prompts. It actually creates, like you can create websites and you can create programs. So it acts as your developer, right? Like what you would pay thousands and thousands of dollars a developer to do as you get better. I'm imagining as you get better at the prompts, or you look, and you can even look up prompts. And the cool thing was when I was on their website, on their site, it showed a video of like them creating a simple. It was like a PDF signing program,
Right.
and then the guy was showing how it wasn't working properly and it was actually fixing some stuff. Like, do you want me to fix this with this? So it's quite amazing.
Yeah. And I think, as much as that's amazing, you know, the scary part is that, what human tasks is AI replacing?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the world still has 8 billion people in it. And
hmm
last time I looked, more than half of them have to work to make a living.
There's another new section which is AI bots that maybe don't have to work, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's just, it's one of those things that make you go,
yeah,
and you wonder, is the world ready for that kind of innovation?
yeah.
You know?
I don't know about you, but I find like when social media came out and we were dealing with it at schools, the kids and everybody were so far ahead of us. The people in tech were so far ahead of us. Like it it blitzed us, and there was things I look at now that could have been laws and checks and balances that could have been put in place to maybe avoid or minimize some of the damage it's done. I think nowadays, I mean, it's used for good too. Like there's a lot of benefits that came out of it.
Absolutely.
But what I'm finding is, at work, through our tech guys and even talking to a good friend of mine who's in cybersecurity, is with AI, those conversations are happening a lot earlier. So my faith is in the community and and then putting it out there to having these conversations to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes, or or we're able to rectify things down the road that might happen now in the present.
Yeah. So, AI has a stronghold on all of our lives in some way, shape, or form. It's just a matter of, where you are on the implementation journey. Are you a
Yep.
novice beginner? Are you an expert? Or do you know how to use all of the tools? And, do you allow the tools to control you as opposed to you controlling them?
Yeah.
You know? So I think we're in a good place, but I'm always cautiously optimistic, or a pessimist as opposed to an optimist. But
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of the speed at which this has been
Oh yeah.
implemented. Or you hear about some new AI bot or implementation, and it's only been 2 years. And
Yeah.
honest,
Well, yeah, I think in our industry now, like with all the options that you have, like when we first started with things like Magic School Bus or um, whatever it was,
that's
AI,
what it was.
and that was creating, you know, lesson plans and unit plans. And now you have things where you can pull in videos and summarize them. And I look at Notebook LM, I leverage that all the time. Um, the Notebook LM, you can drop in YouTube videos, you can drop in scripts, and then you can ask it to analyze those. And it even has a button in the end to say, "Hey,
Wow.
create a podcast out of this," and you can do that, and the flow charts that you can make on it. So I think, like for educators, like I mean, if we're talking about the how, one is teach your staff how to leverage the unit plans and the lesson plans and the assessments and the rubrics, right? Teach them the framework, but once you teach them the framework, let them experiment with the prompts to optimize their teaching practice, and give them teach them how to, when they're not spending so much time creating all the content for their units and lessons because they've got the help of AI, use that extra time in order to master your craft as a coach or a guide, or being creative on how you're gonna put out that information. That's for my classroom teachers.
Mhm.
For my administrator friends, spend 15 minutes on different types of AI every day. Like 15 minutes is not hard to spend on AI platform. You barely get started and get to know what platform you can use to leverage certain things. Like I wouldn't use now Copilot to do some of my scheduling that's more complex. I would use an AI that has a scheduler built in. Notebook LM, like I said, summarizing mass amounts of information, making notes, creating that, helping create content for professional development like PowerPoints and things like that. That I would use Notebook LM for that. Base 44, I cannot wait. I mean, I think I've talked to you about this. Is my dream has always been able to it's been to create a platform for an administrator, kind of like Iron Man has Jarvis,
Mhm.
and like to create one where if I'm having a challenge, I can pull up a podcast that I have on there, or that helps support me with scheduling, because scheduling takes up a lot of my day.
Yeah.
And then if I could get help from like create a program where it's intuitive and I can say, you know what, here's some of the parameters I have to switch. Can you spit out a schedule for me? So that's how, as an administrator right now, I'm using AI. And let me tell you, it's the learning part takes some time, but then once you get going, even with small things, it saves a lot of time in your daily work.
No, I agree. I mean, I've been doing some writing, and I've written a couple of short articles, 2 or 3 pagers, and you plug it in and say, you know, edit or write professionally or
Yeah.
summarize, and it does a fairly authentic job of what you're trying to do, or with the message that you're trying to get across.
Oh, for sure.
and very powerful too,
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. And I think like one of the other things of how to use AI to up your game as a leader in a school is, like I said, take some time in your day to explore it. And you know what? You don't need to know everything. Use it for one thing and become really good at it. And then once you've mastered that, move on to the next thing. Like you don't need to know everything.
no.
Like you can know of everything, but just like you create yourself, a task list of things that you really want to know or hobbies or something that you might be really into. Pick a niche and kind of like perfect it and then move on to the next one. It does help you leverage
Yeah,
up.
and I think we talk about the language that you use when you wanna do things, and I know that I shared this with you, and I did with a few other staffs that l I use the word "play" a lot because I think if people hear the word "play," it's less intimidating than, "We need to do this," or "This is something that needs an implemented strategy behind it." If you just say, "Let's
Hmm.
play with it," people feel a little more at ease and are willing to be
Yeah.
risk takers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we're nearing the end here.
I think we are. They're getting longer and longer. We're trying to keep these a little bit shorter, but
That's okay.
we might have to change the title of this one to not just AI as AI and belonging or something like that.
There you go. There you go.
Um, but yeah, again, always awesome, my friend. I know I have a busy day every day, but I look forward to these Tuesdays where we're recording or we're just talking about stuff. To our audience again, thanks for listening. We're getting some really good traction. We're on Spotify again. We're on Apple, BeanPod, YouTube. Yeah, keep listening. Keep giving us some feedback. Give us your questions. habitoverwhy@gmail.com. And you know what? We're just two guys who the district forced us together, but made a friendship out of it. And now look at this, like how many years later we're doing a podcast. So we're just trying to help you through our stories and what we're learning so that you can shorten that time frame to become better leaders and yeah, share this with friends if you find it valuable and they're taking a similar journey.
habitoverwhy@gmail.com. And we're here to give you the how, but
Yes.
tell you the why.
Yeah. So we will talk to you soon. And thank you again, Claudio.
All right, Jeeve. Have a great day.
Take
Bye-bye.
How do you lead? Are you passionate about growing strong, resilient leaders who value empathy, self-awareness, and community? Our podcast, Habit Over Why, a look at social emotional leadership, is dedicated to exploring the transformative power of emotional intelligence in leadership. We bring insightful conversations, compelling stories, and practical strategies to help individuals and organizations thrive in today's dynamic world. By sponsoring our podcast, you'll be supporting thoughtful dialogue and empowering listeners to become mindful, compassionate leaders. Your partnership allows us to reach a wider audience, feature industry experts, and deliver actionable content that makes a real difference. Together, let's build a future where social emotional skills are at the heart of leadership. Join us on this important journey. For sponsorship details and opportunities, please contact us at habitoverwhy@gmail.com. Let's inspire the next generation of leaders, one episode at a time.